For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future. Let me pray. God, we just thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for Big Mac, I call him, but Eric and his story. I thank you for just this platform, God. I thank you for your grace and your mercy and for allowing us to seek and receive your forgiveness for the things that we come up short on. And God, I just pray that you continue to lead us, lead our hearts, lead our minds. And it's in your son, Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Absolutely. Thank you. Welcome again to another segment of the Glory Stories, spiritual networking platform allowing individuals the opportunity to promote their brands, endeavors, as well as share their life's perspectives and the part that God has played in that. I am Corinne Wiggins. As always, we kept the main thing by opening us up in prayer. But for the main reason you all are here, we have another great segment put together for you. We have a gentleman that I have had the luxury of being teammates along my athletic journey with. I was a rookie and he was a vet, but during that time, got a chance to spend quite a bit of time together around each other. So hope, that we can come on here, and when he comes on here, he doesn't go crazy and blast me. He might got some stories that y'all, might not have heard, but we'll see, right? But nah, man, great guy. But either way, and all around, just phenomenal man that I looked up to, man, and doing great things in sports commentary and communication space in that industry. A husband, and just living life and finding contentment along the way. I'm not going to take too much time, be long-winded or whatnot. Allow him the opportunity to speak on that. But my brother, Big Mac, Mr. Eric Maclain.
Come on, my man. Thank you for having me today. This is awesome, man. I'm happy to be a part of this journey with you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. And for those who don't know, Mac, give them some background on you and who you are and how you've gotten to where you are currently.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I grew up, a military kid. Pops is still in the Air Force serving this great country. So I'd been around a couple of different places growing up and then finally was in North Carolina where I went to high school, kind of representing right here with Jack Britt. So went to high school here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And then eventually found my way down to Clemson. Had never really even have heard of Clemson. Growing up, I grew up a Tennessee fan. My mom's side went to Tennessee, and then her mother and some of her family actually went to Alabama. So that's where I was always going to go, one of those two schools. And then things happened the way they did. Some coaching changes happened. I said, I don't want to be any part of this. And I found little old Clemson, and man, just fell in love. And it's incredible to see. Really, you and I. I mean, the brand that is Clemson now. There's nobody who hasn't heard about the Tigers. So it's a lot different story. And man, I'm so blessed to have, been able to be there, meet guys like you and seeing the great things that our teammates are doing now. Did the pro thing for a very brief stint, got cut and then decided to come back to school. I wanted to finish my master's, did some stuff with Clemson, finished up there, got into marketing and sales and sponsorships. And then this amazing opportunity, which I'm sure we'll dive into more with ESPN of kind of that story. But I never wanted to do that. I had been told, really most of my life. I mean, when I became an adult and in college and stuff, man, you need to go work for ESPN. You need to do this. I was like, I don't think that's for me. I'm not really feeling it. And then God has his plan. And when he puts his plan in front of you, it's kind of like, maybe this is the right thing. And so it's crazy how it happened. The story is nuts. And, I can't be more blessed. My wife and I, my beautiful wife, Kaki, I met her at Clemson, and we both live in Charlotte now. So it's good to be back in North Carolina and just living life.
Nice, man. Mac, not going to take too much of your time, but while we're here, I want to talk a little bit about the word renewal and rebirth, being transformed, made a new you, your perspective on it and just what it means to you. And I'm sure in the service you may think like, how can we even talk about this, right? Or where does this topic even come from? And rightfully so, but it stems from Psalms 51:10. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. And for those who aren't too familiar, this is David crying out to God after rebelling against God and seeking another man's wife, essentially being an adulterer, and then trying to hide his sinful acts. But he thought he was going to get away with it because initially he kind of was, and because everything seemed cool and smooth. And, just like when anyone does anything wrong or when you do something that you kind of regret, over time it begins to eat at you, right? Your conscience won't, put you at ease. And the devil and the evilness in David, committed it started to weigh on him, right? So he needed to get out of that or find some way to break from that. And all he could do at this point was just cry out to God, like, just create in me, right, a clean heart, oh God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. So Matt, talk a little about how you cleanse your mind, body and soul, and, to stay feeling renewed, motivated, and inspired. What are some things you've done along your journey and may have even, that you may continue to do?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I think, for starters, you talk about that conscience and you talk about feeling bad whenever you do something that could be perceived as wrong. Man, I get hit with that hard. If I do something that I even remotely question, man, I'm down in the dumps. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I thinking? And so God whispers in my ear frequently. And, it's such an interesting thing because, one thing that I am very grateful for in my, story of faith is that, it's not a big redemption story. It's not a story of failure or rock bottom. It's kind of something where I've been a believer since I can remember. And I've been that kind of born again. Now, you obviously mature and you get better and closer with your walk with God. But, I'm so thankful because in college, you meet all these great people and you hear all these great testimonies. And it's funny, I felt like, man, I'm kind of a weak Christian, bro. Like, I don't have this awesome story. I don't have any of this. And how can I motivate people? And I actually was kind of saying that to Jeff Davis one day, a great friend of both of ours, and just said, he just checked me really quick. He said, Mac, that ain't it, bro. Like it is nothing to be, ashamed of or bashful of or anything of that nature. And it just really gave me kind of almost a new wind in your sail to where you're like, I don't have to have that. All of our stories are unique to us and so different to us. So, I just kind of wanted to say that it's something that has been growing every day. I hope it continues to grow and develop my relationship. But, when you talk about, being born again and what does that mean? What does that, ultimately look like? And I think it's different for a lot of people. And I think there's certain folks that have this ultimate wake-up call where everything just starts to make sense and
Right.
you felt empty. You felt like nothing that you could do was enough for anything, whether it was money, the success, the women, the men, even, whatever you wanted to do, whether you were a man or woman, you couldn't physically obtain, this hole that's inside of you. And I think that certainly happens. There's people that have that story to where once they have that aha moment, that rebirth, man, everything's great. And
Right.
all those things that you thought that mattered, that the cars, the money, all that stuff, which is still fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but you see it differently. And you think of it as, man, I thought that this was such a fulfilling thing that it's not anymore. So it's funny how these things that we thought were of such great importance are just by the wayside. And there's nothing wrong with having those. If you like them, you want to do that regardless, but it just doesn't hold the same value to you. And I think that was something that, again, as you grow older, as we grow wiser and figure that out, things just mean kind of less. So it's almost like you're having a rebirth almost annually as you get older and smarter and wiser, that you're like, man, stuff that I used to get so worked up about, things that I used to get so frustrated with, it's all gravy. It's all, it is what it is. And ultimately it's his plan. So, I think that that's something that's really interesting to look at and just, finding our path with that and figuring out, what does that rebirth look like? Is it something super dramatic where, it all kind of clicks at once, or is it just kind of a gradual build for you?
Right. And kind of to piggyback off what you said earlier, man, like people do, they seem to battle with that as far as the story, right? Like, what is your story? And,
Right.
you think that you're maybe a weak Christian and you think that, maybe this wasn't how it's supposed to be. And they start to really create a story that really isn't truthful, and I hear it a lot with people that I've come in contact with, just really from my environment and things like that. They want that come from the bottom, made it, feel good story, and honestly, I mean, it's kind of, I think America's fault in the sense as well. Definitely everybody wants to promote and talk about that story, but you got to find contentment in your story, right? And contentment in whatever it is God has for you. And I try to pray, man. You think about, I'm just kind of going off on a limb a little bit. I try and pray and stay in the word and talk, with elders to seek wisdom to kind of, continue cleansing my mind or body and soul, things like that, to bring some type of commitment at the moment. But, at some point it wears off. You lay down at night and you're trying to, even when you might be taking a road trip or things like that, you just have time to yourself and think. I even find it hard, that what I'm doing, right then, and even if I'm living righteous or whatnot, you think like, okay, some anxiety and things like that start to come, and you're really not cleansing, and you're really not at the sure of, I would say, contentment that you would hope for. So I would go, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing, or am I really in the right place?
That's tough when you start questioning that.
Yeah. So, another question I would have, man, what can you say to the people who have questions about, like I said, kind of start questioning themselves and, start to go astray from God, and I'm sure during your journey, you had some adversity, some unexpectancy, where you may have even been, begin to doubt or, question God yourself. How did you handle it, and what got you through it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just taking that time, with the big man up top, and just having that peace of mind, whether it's prayer, whether it's reading and getting into the Bible, talking to other folks, if it's just out in nature and just walking. I mean, there's countless verses where it talks about how can you see all of this and question who I am. And so when I think of all those different, ways and what brings you the most comfort, for me, man, if I'm out and I'm, taking a hike or I'm in the mountains or just on the water and just seeing all of his beauty, it just kind of overwhelms you. And it's kind of that moment where you sit back and you're like, man, it's powerful stuff. And it's easy. It's what he's already done. And so I think I try to reflect back on those times if I'm faced with, some difficulty or if somebody, super close to you. So my uncle committed suicide, one of the most godly men in my life, and was dealing with unbelievable stresses, medication, trying to sleep, was not himself for the last 3 months of his life. And when I got that news, it's like, what are you doing, man? Why would you take this person off of your earth? Why would you take such a light away? And I'll never know. And so that was something where, one day, hopefully I will, but, right now, as I walk this earth, I won't. And so it's something where for a brief moment in time, and I'm not sitting here beating my chest saying I'm the best Christian in the world. I'm holding hands, walking with Jesus. That's not the case. I try to, but there's definitely times where, I fail, and that's almost daily. But, for the moment that, I was struggling and asking those questions and saying, why this, it's just something that I found peace in what I just said. The fact that I'm not meant to know, I'm not able to understand his ways, and that one day, hopefully, there'll be a time where maybe we sit down and talk about it. But for right now, it's finding peace that there is a plan, that there is a reason. And, he just called him home early, and that's the biggest thing. So I think there's a lot of different ways that you handle those and you deal with it. And I think the best way, though, is just leaning back on him and diving into the Bible, diving into prayer and having that meditation to where, those questions can hopefully maybe not be answered, but at least peace can come to you and you can find some resolution. So there have been times, man, where, I'm just reflecting on that, or I'm just reflecting on the great things that he has blessed me with, and also the struggle that he's blessed me with, because I've probably learned way more lessons in the adversity and in the struggle than when I'm sitting on top of a mountaintop looking at the next one. So I think that there are certainly, ways to do it. But like I said, leaning on the Lord is certainly number one.
Right, absolutely, man. And you alluded kind of to your adversity. Talk a little bit about how you got to where you are as far as adversity, and when did it seep in? How did you get through it, and to essentially get to your position right now?
Yeah, well, I think when you look back on, my football career, I was very blessed to not have a bunch of injuries and not really have any major injuries, which is a huge thing in college athletics when you talk about setting people back, things not happening of that nature. And so I never had to deal with that. So I'm very blessed and thankful But I did have to deal with, not playing right away and then having to change positions to maybe help my team. And it's funny how, again, we were talking a little bit earlier about how we have our problems and then we measure it to someone else's problems. It's like, man, I'll take mine back. My problems aren't so bad.
Right.
And so keep that in mind when I'm telling you this story that I totally understand. But to me, at the time, it was a huge deal. It was a huge mountain that I had to get over and figure out. And I mean, when I came in as a recruit, I'm, a top 10 tight end, I think maybe number 6 or 7 in the country. I'm this 4-star that's supposed to start and play right away. And that just wasn't the case. And so, thankfully Twitter and all that was still kind of growing. It wasn't as big as it is now to where, people probably would have been jumping in my DM saying, man, you suck, you're terrible, all these things. I didn't have to deal with any of that, but just myself and, friends and family saying, why aren't you playing? Why aren't you out there? And so that, again, kind of took a lot of looking in the mirror and, kind of asking, God, did I make the right decision? Why did you lead me here to Clemson? And this is kind of, the case of what I'm dealing with, and then changing positions and having to gain weight, having to change my body and do, things I never thought that I'd be doing. Now I'm doing it at the highest level against some bad dudes who are getting paid a lot of money in the NFL right now. And it just, you kind of question why. And you say, how can I deal with this? But man, I can't tell you enough how just going to church, talking with my mentors and pastors and figuring it all out, because we cannot do it alone. We weren't created to do things alone. That's why God gave us a partner way back when he created Adam, because that's just not how we were made. And so I would really encourage anybody who is going through a struggle, who is going through adversity, to lean on your family, lean on your friends, mentors, your circle, and just say, hey, this is what I'm going through. I'm going to be vulnerable to you right now. And I need your help getting through it, because that's, God put those people in your life for that. And so that was something, Corinne, that was very important to me. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she was a part of that circle, and teammates and, just roommates figuring it all out. So again, it was funny how that was my world. That was the biggest problem that I deal with. That is, it's so minuscule in regards to the entire earth, but that was a big problem for me. And luckily enough, got through it, ended up having a pretty successful career at Clemson, getting to that national championship, coming up a little short, but ultimately being part of the foundation of where Clemson is now. It's something that I would never trade. I'm so thankful that he got me there. And the relationships, the connections, the friendships, family that I've met in that time, where 7-8 years ago, I thought, man, I made a horrible decision. Right. Absolutely wasn't the case. So it's almost comical how he can take any story and anything that we think is such a struggle, a heartache, a hardship, and turn it into something so beautiful at the end of the day. And I'm just blessed and extremely grateful that he decided to do that with me at Clemson.
Right, definitely, man. And you kind of alluded to it when you spoke about just really going through the situations and things like that, the adversity. And I think like it required a certain level of mental toughness, right? And it definitely required a certain level of mental toughness. Talk about some of the ways that you were able to develop your mental toughness and how you were able to continue to stay sharp in that.
Yeah, well, I think, at a very young age, again, my pops was in the military, so we had to figure it out quick. There wasn't any babying or telling you, everything's going to be okay. It's more like, figure this out. You're not feeling well, you're hurt, you've got a problem, fix it. And so at a very young age, my brother and I, we had to figure it out. We had to know how to problem solve, how to get things that we needed, that we wanted. And, so I attribute that incredibly to kind of my development there. When you look at, again, I talk about family a lot because it's how important it is to me, but, just folks teaching me along the way, my grandfather being such an instrumental piece of my life, and the knowledge and the tips along the way that he, just blessed me with, that, I still use each and every day right now. So I think that's a big part of it. And, ultimately just not wanting to fail, that's a big part with me of wanting to, glorify God with everything that I do, and understand that the way that I eat, the way that I drink, the way that I carry myself, the way that I live everyday life, people are going to look at that. And I hope that, it's a reflection upon Jesus. It's a reflection upon God. And they see, man, there's just something different about that guy. I might not know what it is if they're not a believer or if they just haven't met him yet, but there's something different about this guy. And I want to figure out what it is. And so I hope to bring that inspiration each and every day.
Right, definitely, man. And I'm myself personally, I definitely I feel it, man. I'm watching you. I'm like, I'm supporting it, man. You're doing a great job.
Thank
you. Since we're talking about renewing and rebirth, man, talk about what's new in your world or what's in store for you. What should we be on the lookout for? Things like that.
Yeah, well, it's an exciting time, man, because going in 2 years now into my ESPN career and just figuring this whole thing out. Obviously, last year in 2020 was something that none of us, knew how to handle,
Absolutely.
Knew what was going to happen. Really, you talk about relying on faith. I mean, I'm walking blind out here, man, just saying, hey, help me out here. Cause it's, I don't see it, but I'm going to trust you and we're going to get through this together. And, I think ultimately looking at that, you talk about growth and figuring things out. I mean, I can just speak as a company. ESPN did unbelievable things to where they're adapting to the climate to try to get these people some type of entertainment, because similar to football, man, I try to take the approach each and every time I'm on a camera that I'm entertainment, that I'm hopefully bringing some type of either joy or alleviating some type of pain, taking somebody out of where they are for just a moment. And even if it's negative feelings, if you want to be mad at me and forget about what you're dealing with for just a second, that's what I try and do each and every time. But so when we adapted in this COVID era where we couldn't be up in Connecticut in the studios together, we couldn't be on site at a game. I'm sitting here right to the left of kind of my studio here where there's 2 cameras set up, an iPad for return so I can see, and a bunch of lights, and, they figured it out. So I think the biggest thing of, this COVID era that I just learned was being able to adapt and being able to, whatever life throws at you, man, there's a solution. We can figure it out. We are very smart human beings, and we can find a better way. So that was an exciting year, but I'm just excited to see where it goes and the relationships and the joy, the excitement to hopefully this fall be back to somewhat normal and to see, my friends and family again in the studio and just the how much better, we can really get. And, it's funny, not in the biblical sense, but it kind of will be a rebirth for us in our show and taking what we learned and getting better. And how can we readjust to all these different things? So I'm excited for the future, man. It's hopefully going to be a ton of fun and, covering the great sport of college football that, obviously gave yourself and me a ton of different opportunities and platforms.
Absolutely. And what else are you? I know you probably have a lot of other things going on. Talk a little bit about some other endeavors that you might be involved in, or if you have your own type businesses or anything like that.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'm actually doing a podcast with another Clemson Tiger. Her name is Kelly Gramlich. We played together at Clemson. She was a basketball player. I obviously played football, and so we've been doing that. It's been awesome. It's called Gramlich and Mac Lain, talk ACC sports, and it's a ton of fun. I get to be a basketball analyst. She gets to be a football analyst, and we go back and forth on different things. So you can check that out anywhere you get your iTunes and things of that nature. And, then just, trying to continue to be a better man, a better husband. I think that it's something that it's always the main thing, but sometimes it can fall back into, progress or importance level. But it always finds its way back up to the top really quickly. So that's just us, man. We're growing and trying to figure this thing out. But again, this walk of life has been a lot of fun.
Definitely. And you said the Kelly and Gramlich?
Yeah,
you said
Gramlich and Maclain. Yep,
that's
right.
Okay, nice.
Right.
And and how often do you all release episodes and things like that?
Yeah, so it really just depends. So during the football season, we do 3 episodes a week. So we knock it out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. For basketball season, we just did 2. And then kind of the off-season mode when there's not too many sports being played, we just do 1 a week. And, man, we had some awesome guests, really ranging from authors to coaches to players to, anybody in between. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a fun journey. I'm sure just as you have experienced on this podcast, you just get to make new relationships and new connections and, talk about a lot of different great topics.
Nice. Big time, man. But good deal, Mac. we're going to move along into the get to know you segment, a little fun game type deal. I'd allow people the opportunity to get to know you a little more on a personal level. Let me share the screen for you. Here we are. Here we are. If Eric were not working within his current occupation, ESPN, as an analyst, what occupation would you be pursuing or working?
I really still I have such a feel and love for athletics, man, for collegiate athletics. I want to get into that space, and maybe it's 10 years from now, maybe it's next year. I have no idea where God will direct me and what paths He might open up, but I just love helping student athletes, and I think there is a new wave coming, and if you are not on board with it, if you don't understand it, you're going to get left behind. And it's going to be something that is going to be very interesting for us all to pay attention to with this name, image, likeness, and trying to again just give people what they deserve. And it is a massive business that has essentially been free labor for quite some time. That there's a lot of changes coming, so it would be fun to be a part of that. And no question, I would be right in the middle of it right now if I wasn't, working for ESPN.
Big time. You think you like to coach? What position? If you were the coach or something like that?
If I was coaching, man, I've got to be the coordinator. I've got to be calling plays. I've got to be trying to embarrass you guys on defense. But, I think more administration, like athletic director type deal. Just because I can dip my hat in a bunch of different things, not just football, and really, be embracing of a bunch of different sports.
Nice, big time. We're going to move along. What is Eric's favorite pastime? What would you consider? You can have multiple.
That's right. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of things, man. I think of, just being with my pops, and anytime we're out, in the shed or the workshop, and building different things, whether it's furniture or creating some type of things with our hands, man. I love, being a carpenter and building a bunch of different things. So that is time that I can never get back, that I truly value. Anytime my pops and I can just be out in the woodshed, getting after it for a couple hours.
Absolutely, man. I can piggyback that as well, man. I love doing that with my father as well. I feel like that's the moment that you those are the times you definitely can't get back, and that are very, I would say sensitive, because
that's right.
At some point they're gonna, diminish and dwindle away, and you're not going to be able to do that. So
no doubt.
I definitely do, agree with you, and I can definitely understand why you would say that. What was something you got into trouble for growing up, and if any, did you get into any trouble?
Yeah. I've actually got a really, bad story. So I had a friend who lived out in the country. This was like, I think second or third grade. So I was very young. But he lived way out in the country, owned a bunch of land. And, we were just kind of walking around one day. We had our slingshots. We were, probably trying to, hunt some squirrels or something. And, we were walking kind of on his property line, or his parents' property line. And we rolled up on this, what looked like a junkyard. And so we're just messing around. We're kids. We don't understand the ramifications. And there's this car sitting out there that looked beat up to us. Yeah. And we're shooting it with slingshots. We're dinging it up. We probably broke, the glass or something. And then we go home, and nothing happens, and it's all good. My dad gets a phone call like 3 hours later from, my friend's mom saying the boys destroyed this guy's car who he was fixing up and was going to be selling. So I had no clue. And again, I'm just this tiny kid, and I start bawling, crying. He drives me over to this guy's house. I've got to cut his grass for 3 years to make up for all this. I've got to apologize. It was rough, man. So I tell you what, I haven't touched a slingshot since that day.
I can believe it. Man,
on top of the physical tail whipping that I received for many, many times.
Exactly. Man, I would say, definitely. We all have so many stories and experiences, man. Personally, I would probably say it was a time where I was on the school bus coming home, man, and being a kid trying to crack a joke and have fun. I had, for some reason, I had aspirations to want to pull the emergency door, right, while the bus is moving. Yeah, man, I pulled the emergency door. The door swings open on the back, and papers flying out the back. You can picture this
Right.
this image, right? The bus driver stops the bus, chews me out. You don't do that. Yeah. I'm going right home, man, and I get suspended off the school bus.
Oh
But
no.
I have no transportation to school because my mom works in the morning. My dad essentially is working at night, so he's sleeping, right? So now he's upset because he has to alter his sleep schedule.
Right,
Now,
for you.
and that was the worst. That was the worst whooping I got, man, in my life. And from that day, let's say I didn't pull any more school.
That's right.
Yeah.
Model citizen for life after that.
Right, absolutely, man. Who was the most influential person in your life growing up? And it could be multiple.
You know, I have so many, man. I talk about how important family is to me, and really, I was just as a kid, and as I grew up into a young man, and now an adult. You know, I really held on to things that people I looked up to, what they would say, and how influential those things were to me. But I don't think there's any question that my number one is my father, my dad, and just the things that he taught me, the lessons that I'll never forget, that I'll teach my children one day, the fun times, the hard times, the bad times, the sad times, even when he's whipping my tail for messing up a truck. It's something that I would never trade. And even the moments when he's overseas and I'm playing high school football and he's having to listen to me on the radio, he can't see me in person, and just thinking about all these times that of struggle and of sacrifice and still of joy and happiness that we've had together. He's my hero, and in the literal sense of the word and figuratively, as a father, the things that he has done for our family, for our country. It's tough to ask somebody for that, and he delivers each and every time. I'll say another guy that has really developed into one of the most influential people in my life as well is my wife's father, my father-in-law, and a different avenue. Again, I talk about my father as a military man and the different things that we learned and did that way. Well, my father-in-law is a very successful businessman, and teaching me how to be in that realm, and teaching me how to dress properly and how to handle different situations that my dad just didn't have to do. It's just it's not a skill set or even an opportunity that he's been presented with. So kind of to merge these two worlds, man, I'm just extremely blessed and thankful for these two great men who are a constant in my life through the lowest of the low times and the highest of the high. You can look around, and those two are never too far away.
Nice, big time, man. And for everyone that's listening, he's alluding to the importance of men, right?
That's right.
Men being great leaders, great fathers, understanding, and you men that are listening, take that with definitely take that to heart. Understand that the position that you hold, the influence that you have, and essentially the pressure that you're taking on, and the responsibility that you have.
No question.
A lot of people counting on you. Definitely looking up to you. You might have people that not even your family members or whatnot, but just how a man carries themselves, they're supposed to be very, professional and about their business in a sense. And essentially the word talks about as well, just being the alpha within the household. So again, understand that, please. What change do you want to see in the world, Eric? If there was a change, there's a lot going on right now, man. What change would you like to see in the world?
Yeah, man, I can tell you that there is a ton that needs to change. And I think that, our generation, if not us, the people right behind us are going to be the ones that get it to at least a closer finish line. But I think when you think of what could wrap it all up, what could, if we just did this more, what could solve so many different problems? And that's just love each other, man. It's just love each other. When I see another human being, that's what I should see and nothing else. And I think that there's so much hate, and the devil just creeps in, man, and tries to divide, tries to conquer, and ultimately kill us. we've got to be able to see it. We've got to be able to identify it. And the easiest way to do that is with love and with Jesus, to be honest. And I mean, we could do a whole podcast on this question right here and how we can do it and how we can be that light to make a change with just our daily lives, our daily interaction with each other, the example. And you talk about the power as men. Well, the power of people and the power of love is so important and so strong as well, that if I'm having an interaction that is negative, I mean, how many other people that are seeing that can I influence in a bad way? I mean, we can do better. And I know that there is enough people, there's enough moments, there's enough pushes for this to where we can do it. And it's again, it's a Jesus thing. It's a love thing that, I hope in my lifetime, in your lifetime, we see some significant changes, because there's no question that we need it.
Absolutely, man. And like you said, love, man. It's easy to say from someone like yourself that, it naturally probably comes, it comes to you naturally, as well as myself. It's easy to love someone else. It's easy to understand or try and see someone else's perspective. Just have that respect for someone else. But it seems like it's sad that it's so hard for seems like everyone to have that same type of understanding. And it really is a Jesus thing, like you said, man, being able to really just pray about it, trying to essentially just talk about maybe trying to love someone enough to serve them and serving them by understanding their circumstance, and it definitely is going to take some time. Hopefully we'll be able to see it, man, and everyone can come together, because it is a lot of division right now, seems like, and just allowing everyone to support each other, and maybe we can again get to something better. And I know there's better at some point, hopefully in my lifetime, but there will be better soon. So we have a final focus for you, Eric. Just a little motivational thing, man, a little video to just refocus you and just really just give you some inspiration moving forward.
I dare you to work on yourself for 6 months.
It would try and load at this point.
Everything in life is a negotiation.
It would be that at this point, wouldn't it?
I believe in your editing skills. I believe in you.
Absolutely, brother. It would right at the end, man. Right at the end. Here we are.
The world. I dare you to shut out all the distractions. I dare you to give up everything that is keeping you from your dream.
Every day when I wake up, I got all kind of demands. You got all kind of demands. And the reason why you're not where you want to be.
GT, come on.
People's stuff before you spend enough time with yourself to get to know you and get to know what you want and what you should do. Come on, y'all heard it a million times. In case of an emergency, put the doggone mask on yourself first. And the problem, most of you in this room, you giving it to everybody else first. And then you pissed when you give it to everybody else first, and you come up short, and you wonder why you came up short, because you gave it to everybody else first. Take care of you.
In order to have unbelievable choice and options in your life, in your pursuit of your dream, you must eliminate them. You must shrink your focus down to one thing, one business, one focus at one time, and master it and get great at it for an extended period of time. The irony of life is that the more you shrink your options in pursuit of your dream, the more it'll open them up in your life later.
What are the things that are stealing your focus? Who are the people that are stealing your focus? And begin to eliminate these distractions. Get laser focused and obsessed on what you want. Be starving and hungry to get it. Be desperate to get it. The combination of desperation and hunger with laser focus over an extended period of time is the formula to be great at something. What's the immediate first massive action you're going to take? The first step, it's unplug the TV, it's remove the video game, it's throw out the junk food, it's remove a certain person from your life. I don't know what it is, but what is the immediate massive action?
You might have to lose something. where you trying to go, you might have to give up some friends. You might have to give up some opportunities. You might have to give up some stuff to go from good to great. Everybody talk that talk. Everybody talk about going to the next level. Everybody's talking it until it's time to pay up. And when it's time to pay, there are people who not willing to pay. You're going to have to sacrifice some sleep to get this one. You can't get up at the same time. You're going to have to sacrifice some friendship to get to this one. You're going to have to sacrifice some entertainment to get to this one. And the only way you prove to yourself that you really want it is that you no longer hit the snooze button. You no longer lose focus when you're studying. You no longer take shortcuts. You no longer playing games. You are willing to do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes to get to that milestone. It's your dream. Nobody's going to see it like you do. It's your dream. Nobody's going to feel it like you feel it. It's your dream. Nobody's going to be as dedicated to it as you are. It's your dream, and they don't have to understand, and they don't have to like it. It doesn't make a difference. It's your dream, and you, my friend, have been given the task to make it happen, and you can't let anything stop you from doing what you were called to do.
Come on, man. I'm about to run through a brick wall over here. Let's go.
I'm telling you, Matt, thank you for joining, man. Thank you all for checking us out tonight. And again, it's you versus you. You're the one, right? Don't let yourself down. And as always, stay forward, keeping the main thing the main thing. Mac, if you would like to say any closing remarks, the floor is yours, man.
No doubt, man. I just, again, appreciate you for having me. We got into some really heavy stuff, and I think it's needed, and it's a fun kind of difference from the light stuff that I do each and every day. So this was very refreshing. I appreciate the time with you and the great questions, man. Excited for your future, and you keep going along on this journey.
Absolutely, man. I'll be checking out that Kelly and Mac Lain, or the grim looking Mac Lain.
Come on.
Right. I'm
right.
checking out that podcast, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. You're leading a great example. Guys like myself, former teammates, as well as just people in general. I'm pretty sure, man, your peers, they're looking up to you. And definitely you got my support always, man, even from afar. I appreciate you again, man. Have a great night.
No doubt. Thank you, my brother.
Yes, sir.